So the first secret to writing books that sell and to make a living as a writer is to write books that readers love. And that's a big topic that I have lots of resources and guides and courses about. But in this video, we're going to talk about step number 2, which is the next big secret. And something I've been helping authors with for decades is spending less, publishing for less or for free. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the different publishing options, how much it actually costs to publish a book, and also we'll discuss, the difference between self-publishing or traditional publishing, which one is better, which one I recommend, and how much you can expect to earn. So the main thing is, if you want to make a living as a writer, you need to spend less than you make. You need to earn more than you spend. Otherwise, you have an expensive hobby. And the truth is, almost nobody is making money publishing books. Even the very successful traditionally published authors, they're not making a full-time living with their books. And there's reasons for that. So quickly I'll go through the options, and then I'll warn you against some red flags that you need to be careful about, because you don't want to buy into somebody else who's just promising you something that sounds really, sounds like exactly what you want. So first off, a lot of people still want to go traditionally published, and that's okay if that's what you want. The problem is, there's the assumption that if you traditionally publish, they will do marketing for you. They will help your book be successful, and that's actually not true. You might get an advance of $5,000 or $10,000, and that'll basically be it. And it'll probably be spread out over 3 years, and most books never earn out their advance, which means that's all the money you're going to get. What publishers do is they take chances on 100 books, and one of them makes lots of money, but they won't actually go out and support all of the books that they publish. You still need to learn marketing. So the downside of traditionally publishing is you give up control to somebody else. You don't learn how to do marketing or to self-publish or to build your platform. And so what happens, like in a lot of my groups, a lot of the traditionally published authors, they are really successful but not earning any money, and their books didn't earn out their advance, and they get dropped by the publisher, and then they're starting over from zero. So they spent a couple years querying editors and agents to get a deal. They made a little bit of money, but their book was kind of a flop. So even though they were successful, they didn't learn how to market. Then they just they got dropped by the publisher because they didn't sell books and they didn't build a platform. So then they spend 2 more years waiting for the book to be published and counting on the publisher to do the marketing for them. And eventually, 4 years later, they have to start all over from scratch building a platform. Whereas indie authors, if you're self-publishing, you have to learn everything. So you're doing everything, you're learning everything. It might take a couple years, but if you figure out how to do your own marketing and you build your own platform, you're in a much stronger position. The nice thing about traditional publishing is that it doesn't cost any money. So that's a huge benefit. It's free. You won't spend any money for a real publishing deal. They'll spend money for all of the costs to produce the book. If you self-publish, which is what I recommend, it can be cheap or free, but you want to be careful. I don't think there should be a price to entry. I don't believe, there's a lot of people who say if you can't afford an editor, you don't deserve to publish, or if you can't get a professional book cover design, then don't publish. I think that's bullshit, because I think every story deserves to be told. So if you don't have a budget to do it, don't worry about it. I still think you should publish anyway. Do the best you can with whatever budget you have. I've put out tons of cheap and free resources to help authors design their own covers or do their own book formatting. To publish a book, all you really need is a cover for print and ebook and formatting for print and ebook. Those you can learn how to do them yourself. You'll probably do a pretty terrible job, but if you use my free resources, at least to learn not to do the stuff that everybody does, and to learn, the basics of book design, which is really important, you can do a decent job, or you can get my free templates and take it up a little bit, or you can get cheap cover design done on Fiverr.com or something. You can also hire an editor. I don't think it's strictly necessary to hire an editor. The main thing is, like I said in the last video, the most important thing is how much your story resonates and satisfies readers. So what a lot of people do is they'll try to make their first book perfect, and they'll over polish it, and they'll spend too much money making it perfect when it still doesn't sell. You can take a book that doesn't have any market value because nobody wants it, even if it's a beautifully written, perfectly edited book. If it doesn't satisfy readers and nobody finds it and nobody wants it, it's still not going to make any money. So it's not always an investment to spend a lot of money to publish your book. That said, it's very common for first-time publishing authors to spend an average of $2,000. That's kind of what it costs to self-publish. That's with a professional editor, professional book cover design, and professional formatting. That's really all you need. And like I said, I get in hot water because I say, if you can't afford editing, get beta readers or get someone else in your friends and family to help you to at least proofread it for errors. It is important to have at least a clean manuscript. But if you don't have disposable income of a couple $1,000s, I don't think it's strictly necessary. I think it's more important to put some work out there and to get feedback and to see if anybody likes it. Because if nobody, if you can't get people to read your first few chapters of your book, it doesn't matter how good the rest of the book is. So I recommend publishing quickly, publishing for cheap, doing the best you can. Of course, if you have better cover design, it's going to make a big difference. But what you really need to do, I know a ton of authors who have started off with really shitty covers and been successful anyway. People still like their story. They still got a lot of attention. Eventually they got picked up. They built huge businesses, sold traditionally published movie rights or book rights. So it is possible to do well even if you start on a budget or start cheap. And that's what I try to do. I have all these DIY book covers and DIY book formatting templates and resources and tutorials to help you to self-publish for cheap. On the other hand, in the middle somewhere is all of these boutique or hybrid publishing services which charge you for services. And generally, I think those are risky because what they're going to do, and they're risky because they sell you exactly what you want. So writers want certain things. They want the dream of being a writer, a full-time author. They want the book signing, and they want to be in Barnes & Noble, and they want to be featured in media. They want stuff that doesn't sell books. And so companies will promise you the stuff that you want and charge you a lot of money for it. And you'll pay it because you think that's what you need. I don't do that because I know that stuff doesn't work. And you need to be careful not to overspend on stuff that's not actually going to sell books. So I'll point out a few things. One thing that they'll do that I don't like is they'll just charge more. So you're basically getting a project manager who's going to do everything for you. And a lot of authors, if it's your first time publishing a book, you're already overwhelmed. You don't know how to build an author website or do marketing or do publishing. So if you find someone who says, hey, we'll take care of everything. We'll give you an editor. We'll do the book design and formatting. We'll do your marketing. We'll build you an author website. If you find someone like that, you're going to be really tempted, even if it's a lot of money. Sometimes just by charging more, it seems more valuable. So when someone gives you an amazing package that's like $15,000, you may think, oh, I want my book to be a success. This must be the best thing because it's so expensive. I'm going to take out my savings. I'm going to take out a GoFundMe campaign or borrow from friends and family so that I can get this $15,000 to buy into this package or program or coaching service or whatever. So you have to know exactly what you're getting. Like I said, basic publishing costs should be around $2,000. And the problem is if you go with a small press or a hybrid publisher, they sometimes say like they're a boutique publisher or something. The problem is if they publish everything, they don't have an audience. So if they just take any kind of book, they don't have an email list or an audience for one specific thing. So if you sign with anybody, you really want a publisher that specializes in your type of book. But also, they're a business. So you're actually paying for the hand-holding and the management and like a case manager and the advertising because they're spending money on advertising. And also to make a profit, they're going to farm out all the services. So they're going to probably give you substandard cover design. And what I usually see in all these more expensive publishing package is pretty crappy or maybe like not terrible, but not super great cover design. And you really need to figure that out. So whatever kind of publishing package you're looking at, make sure there's samples of the cover design. And if the best samples on their website are not that great, and those are their best examples, you need to look elsewhere because the cover design is crucial. And you don't want to pay lots of money and end up with a shitty cover design that's not going to sell the book. So that's a big drawback and a big danger. That's something really important that almost all small publishers screw up. And then I've also seen this thing with a lot of professional coaches. So they're writing coaches who have a publishing package, and they will hard sell you into their community. They will make you feel loved and appreciated. They do a lot of the same things that I do because it works. It's marketing. I also want you to feel loved and appreciated. I also want you to feel inspired and motivated to finish your book. And I know it's important to get you to believe in your book so that you have the confidence to finish and do the work. So I am going to be focused more on giving you that kind of emotional support because I know it is really important. But I'm not going to be selling you some $15,000 or $25,000 publishing package. Like I said, I don't want to be a full-time coach. I have much cheaper templates or courses because I want you to be able to do this stuff on your own. And I want to be able to support you and give you some feedback without it being my full-time job because I want to write my own books. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to be writing my own fiction. So I do want to help you, but I don't want to be a full-time coach, especially because I'm not going to tell you your book is going to be successful if there's not a market for you. And that's something I really want to help you to understand. So there's a lot of other people who say you can make 6 figures if you just buy into my expensive program. And it's not necessarily a scam. It's not necessarily a waste of money because it's difficult to write a book. If you need support and motivation and someone's promising to check in with you every week for a year or whatever, it's reasonable to pay them a lot of money for that kind of support because that's what they do. That's their full-time gig. I understand why they charge that much money. But if they're also offering you a publishing package and you end up with substandard book cover design, or they offer you a bunch of bad advice like, you need to do book signings, or you need to get in Barnes & Noble, or you need to publish in Lightning Source and set your discounts at 60% off and do returnability, that's not good advice because it's not profitable. If you want to be profitable with your books, you want to make more money than you're spending. And what that means is you want to spend less money and reach more people and get more people to actually buy the book itself, not just use the book to sell other stuff. Unless you want to be a full-time, coach or business, and that's fine if you want to do that. You can definitely do that and still have a book that actually earns money. I want you to have books that earn money so you can write more books and be a full-time author and not somebody who makes, all this other stuff but their books don't actually sell. It's getting really dark behind me. I'm in Bali. It was sunset on the beach, but the light's fading pretty quickly. So I'm gonna wrap this video up. This video was secret number 2. And it's about spending less. I have a really, really long video about this stuff and a lot of stuff on creativity.com where I talk about all this stuff and the scams to watch out for. But basically, the main point of this video is if you want to be a full-time author, you need to cut costs and spend less. So I know it's tempting to buy into a big publishing package and someone who just says, we're just going to do everything for you. I know it's tempting. And I think sometimes, if you need that long-term emotional support to get the work done, if you're having trouble getting the work done, I can understand how something like that could be, attractive. However, if you want to make a full-time living as a writer, you can't just give up control to somebody else. And you can't just invest lots of money on your first book. Your first book's probably not going to be your best book. If you spend $20,000 and your first book is a failure and it doesn't earn any money, you're probably not going to be very inspired or motivated to write more books. It might be great and satisfying to get the first book out in the world and hold your book in the hands and do your book signing and whatever. But if that book doesn't get reviews and doesn't earn any money, and you spend a bunch of money on it, especially if you took out credit card debt or something to do it, that's something I want to help you avoid. I don't think that's a good idea. I definitely think you should be publishing faster, publishing cheaper, and not investing a crazy amount of money, especially in your first book. Because most authors, like I said in the first video, they're just not writing books intentionally that readers are going to love. So most authors are writing books that nobody really wants and then spending too much money to publish them, and then they find out later, oops, this isn't going to earn any money. I did everything wrong. That's basically vanity publishing. There's a lot of companies that will take your money and take advantage of first-time authors who just don't know any better, or they're just overwhelmed and they don't want to do it on themselves. In my groups and my programs and everything, I'm basically trying to teach you how to self-publish yourself and learn to do your marketing yourself, and learn about cover design or formatting or web design because the more you know, it's really important for you to focus on educating yourself. Even though it's a little overwhelming, if you can learn the basics, you'll at least know how to avoid the scams or the overpriced services. You'll know how much you should pay or how to spend less and get high quality work. And that's what I want to help you to actually do. So in the next video, we're going to talk more about actually launching your book to #1 bestseller and making a living with your writing. So the book marketing stuff. This video, I didn't have time to actually talk about what kind of book covers sell, which is something I talk a lot about. I have a lot of videos and free materials about that stuff, and it is important. So you should look at that stuff, DIY book covers if you haven't, or DIYbookformatting.com to get free templates and learn how to do your own book design, because it's really important. But this is just kind of a short, quick introduction series. So in the next video, we're going to dive into marketing, how to actually launch a bestseller. And actually, the way that I spin it, the way that my program, Guerrilla Publishing, is really different from everything else is I don't believe in book marketing. So I'm not really going to talk about the marketing that other people talk about. What I'm going to talk about is how to set up an author platform and build a readership of fans who are interested in your book and will review your book before you've even launched your book. If you can build your author platform first, it's really easy to launch a best-selling book without doing any book marketing. So that's really what I'm going to talk about in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. I hope it's been really helpful. Bye-bye.